Welcome to the Comedy Reset Spotlight. This is the place to be if you want to hear from some of the most innovative and exciting comedy creators from around the globe. On this podcast, you'll hear from a variety of guests who are pushing the boundaries of what comedy can be. If you're looking for fresh perspectives and new ideas, this is the podcast for you.
Episode 24. California comedian Erika Harvey.
When did you first start doing stand-up comedy?
I think I started stand-up comedy without realizing it when I was little as a means to get attention from my parents when I was surrounded by nothing but siblings and cousins, and it was a way for me to stand out because I was competing with my cousin who was inherently just sarcastically witty. And so I started acting out characters, and I kept doing that growing up. But I never actually thought I would be a stand-up comedian, and it wasn't until I started dating a dude like last year. Well, we'd been dating for a year. And when I moved to LA, he kept saying, well, come on, I'm going to come down. I'm going to visit you, because I'd moved from Northern California. He said, because he wanted to do stand-up and there were a ton of open mics. And so I said, oh my God, okay, sure. So I went with him and we kept going to these places. And finally we went to this one place called, what was it called? Something Wheel. And they had a stand-up open mic that started at like midnight every night of the week. And I was sitting there watching people get up, freezing, not saying anything for 30 seconds, and then walking off stage. And I was like, well, if they have the balls to do it, you should get up there and do it, Matt. Ooh, I wasn't going to use his name. We'll forget that. And he was like, no, I still got to write stuff. And I was like, well, screw this. I'm going to freaking do it. So one night I just got up there, bombed gloriously. I mean, bombed with such panache, it was not even funny. But I got a fist bump from one of the comedians that was there all the time working on his material. And he was pretty well known in the area. And they were like, all right, well, good job. Are you going to come back? And it's like, yeah. And I don't think anyone believed me. And I came back the next night and I did it. And I'd edited this little stories that I was telling to try and make them punchier. And that's how it all started. So thanks, Matt, now that the name's out of the bag.
What made you want to become a stand-up comedian?
I never wanted to become a stand-up comedian. That was not a goal I ever had in my life. I had friends from high school that started doing it, and I was always just so amazed at the balls that especially this one chick from high school had. She did it as a hobby while she was teaching. I believe she was a teacher. And then she became the host for our local comedy club in my hometown. And I went and I saw her when she was performing somewhere else. And she was funny. And I was just like, wow, Tina, I didn't know you were, I mean, I always knew she was funny in high school, but she was good. And I was like, I can't ever do that. There's no way. No. But she was amazing. And I never thought I would have the balls. I've done theater my entire life. I do voiceover, animation stuff. But getting up there and it just being you and a microphone talking about what you want to talk about. Yeah, no. I didn't have, even when I give big presentations in front of audiences, and I've done a couple of those for national conferences on subjects I really didn't have any idea about, but I write a damn good, catchy headline, I guess. So I had to learn quickly about some of these tech things. But anyways, I had no problems getting up and talking in front of a couple hundred people when it was a tech talk or a talk about nursing or a talk about patients. But to get up there and tell jokes, I didn't think I was that funny. I still don't think I'm that funny. My friends my entire life were like, oh my God, you should do stand up. And I was like, no, but you don't understand, because I won't have you to feed off of, because you are the impetus for the snarky things that I say. So it was just to prove to my boyfriend at the time. Oh, he hated being called that. Okay, so my friend at the time, who was like, I just wanted to show him, just do it. Get up off your ass and do it. It doesn't matter if you're good or not. No one else is going to know you. I mean, when I started, I used my burlesque name so that people wouldn't know who the heck who I was. In fact, when I go sing karaoke, I still use my burlesque name just so that, to protect the innocent. But yeah, so I just fell into it. And it's amazing. I've done theater, and you practice for 8 weeks, and then you have, like, maybe, if you're lucky, when you do community theater, 3 weekends, or if you do something professional, you have a run for maybe 6 months. But this was instantaneous. I had an idea, I wrote it down, I worked on it a little bit, and then I'd go and try it out that night or that day when I lived in LA, where we could do open mics from like noon till midnight. And so it was immediate gratification from the audience to be able to make someone else laugh from something that I came up with was intoxicating.
Who were some of your influences?
Who were some of my influences? Wow. Growing up, it was my Uncle Bill, my dad and his brother when they'd be drinking martinis, making up dirty limericks. My dad when he was sober, and he would just have these such dry, witty, snarky comebacks under his breath to people. And I never picked up on it until I was older. And I was like, oh my God, you're funny. My mom, who was just the Carol Burnett and the Lucille Ball of our family, she was hysterical. And yeah, so that was my first influences. From there, I know it's not politically correct to say, but come on. Bill Cosby was clean and hysterical, and you can't tell me that you never, howled at, Daddy's great, give me the chocolate cake. And George Carlin with his alternative view, let's just put it that way, on the way the world was working. And Dave Chappelle on his Screw You, I'm going to tell you my view, and y'all are just going to have to sit down and take it, because one man's comedy is another man's, oh my God, you are getting canceled. And that is amazing to be able to just not give look at his story. It's inspiring. There's so many people out there. Elaine Boozler, wow, she was phenomenal. I went and saw her in the 90s, and it was awesome to see a chick sell out this the Circle Star Theater in, I think it was Redwood City or San Mateo. It's not there anymore, but it was an awesome place. And she was phenomenal, and I'll never forget the best joke at that point in time that I'd heard, because it was so true in my life, because I had just gotten married, was, the longest 2 minutes of a person's life is when it's the end of a sporting event, because of all well, anyways, you've explained the joke. It's not funny. But anyways, it was a joke that had to do with, being a woman and having to survive the last 2 minutes of a game. No, honey, it's only 2 minutes, and you can go out and get your hair done, shop, get your nails done, and be home in time for the final seconds. It was just magic to me. Oh my God, what's her name? The people who tell the funny stories and can do it and keep people just engaged and into the stories instead of just doing one-liners amaze me. I would love to be able to combine my love of comedy now with corporate speaking gigs, because who doesn't want to have a speaker at a corporate event, and he's just like, oh my God, but be able to do it, with humor. Oh, that would be a blast. So Jerry Corley, I love this guy now. His name is, what is it? Jose Sandui, who was an Air Force pilot who is, to me, he should be my future ex-husband. There's so many people. I'm not a big fan of Amy Schumer because to me it's just nothing but low-hanging fruit jokes. And to me, if the more brain power that it takes, I guess, is the more intellectual is what I lean towards, where you actually have to think beyond your private parts and the functions of those for the joke. And that might sound elitist or something, but it's not. It's just my preference. So I like witty jokes, and I like people that can talk about their real lives. I wish I could remember what his name is. He's well known now, and he has this whole thing about being raised by with 10 kids, and his dad coming in to the bedroom when they were acting up, and how they sat there froze for the entire night, just scared that he was going to come back in. I can't remember what it is. Or the guy who, God, I really need to learn these names, who does the whole Three Little Pigs done in iambic pentameter. It was amazing. It's something that I'd never even thought about. So my influences are the people that use things from their life and don't have to just rely on, the F-bomb and something shocking, although shocking can be awesome just to wake up the audience. So those are the type of performers that really influence me.
What was your first time on stage like?
First time on stage performing or as a comedian? Well, first time on stage performing, I don't remember. I think I was like 3 years old, and I was in some Christmas musical. But the first time performing comedy was exhilarating. It was frightening. It was terrifying. It was the most fun I've had in my adult life. Plain and simple. There's nothing else I can say. It was addictive. It became, just standing up there became like my drug. It's where first time I've ever felt that kind of high.
What's your favorite joke?
My favorite joke. God, there have been so many. The ones my dad would tell that were stupid dad jokes. Like, these engineers were working remotely on a Japanese car, and they upped the date that they needed to have the car made, the design done, and a name thought of. And so they called the Japanese people that were working on the design, and they told them that, and they gave them a date. And so the engineers and designers all looked at each other and said, "Datsun?" And that's how Datsun came about. Or his joke about how Petaluma got his name. There was a group of people that were raising llamas in Northern California, and they wanted to raise more money for themselves. So they put a roadside sign up, and the person that wrote the I can just remember my dad telling this every time we drove through that city. So the person that was putting that sign together had really sloppy handwriting. So instead of saying, "Hey, Petalama," it said Petaluma. It's so stupid, but it was delivered every time like it was the first time. What favorite joke do I do? I like a couple of my jokes. Some of them aren't the funniest, but they're some of the earliest ones that I wrote, so they mean a lot. Like, I have a joke about, I used to work at San Quentin Prison as a nurse. Right, that'll give a whole new meaning to open mic night. And then I was doing that, and a friend of mine who writes comedy and writes jokes for some pretty well-known people, we were sitting there and I was telling him that, and he's like, "Oh, you should come up with, we have a 2-drink, what is it? That toilet wine minimum, because we don't talk about Pruno." I completely destroyed that one. Or my other one now is, I've worked as a nurse for so long and I'm so burnt out that I decided I wanted to do something different. And so I listed all my skills, and yep, I've seen more vaginas and penises than a hooker. So I thought, hey, maybe I should become a hooker. I did the business model and found out that was not a viable option because I have outpriced myself in the current economy, although I'm still cheaper than eggs. So those are some of my favorite ones. They may not be funny, but they're the first ones that I wrote on my own.
What's the worst heckler experience you've ever had?
The worst heckler I ever had turned out to be the best thing that has ever happened to me on stage. I was doing my joke about the San Quentin and open mic. He gives a whole new meaning to open mic, and we needed it. And this is before I did my tag about, but we don't talk about Pruno. And I had completely forgotten what Pruno was called. And so I said, that drink that they make in prison. And this drunk dude was like, "It's called Pruno." And I was like, "Thank you so much for that." And I was like, "Well, thank you. Would you like to come up here and explain to us how you know what that?" He's like, "I'll show you how to make it out of a toilet." And I was like, whoa, it was just perfect. He was so drunk. The audience was so laughing at it, the entire situation. And it was just, I have it on video, and I'm so happy that I have that on video because it'll never happen again. But it made a great reel, and that reel that I used from that has helped boost some recognition that I've had and gotten me some gigs, and it was just glorious. So thank you, drunk dude at the Masonic Lodge in Bullhead, Arizona. I owe you a lot.
What's the best gig you've ever had?
Best gig I've ever had has to be the first time I walked on the stage at Wise Guys Comedy Club in Las Vegas. If you ever go to Las Vegas, go support them, because they support everybody who's up and coming. They have a Tuesday night open mic where anyone can come, and then they have a Wednesday night open mic where you have to be invited. So you have to have proven yourself. So the first time I ever went, they didn't know who I was. They didn't know if I was even close to being funny. I had just moved to the area, so I hadn't made the rounds. I didn't know anybody. So I walk up onto the stage, and they made me go dead last. And there had been like 50 comedians before me. It's one of those really long shows. And I walked up there, and there were a couple audience, because this comedy club, they also open it up to the public. And so there's an actual audience, which is something that up until that point, I'd only done twice before, an audience show. So I walk up there, and they aren't expecting much. They don't know who the heck I am. So I walk up there, and I do 3 minutes, and I have the audience laughing, and I had the manager of the club, give me a high five and say, "Hey, if you ever want to come back for Wednesday night, you're in." And it was kind of validating and a nice screw you, make me the closer. It's all good. I've got this. And I'll leave them happy that they came and stayed for so long. So it was my first foray into the Las Vegas comedy scene. And as most of you know, open mics are incestuous and it takes a while to get in. But now I have my brood of what I call my den. Like, I'm the den mother because I'm the ancient one. But I get along with the guys that are working it and working hard. And It's where I met two guys that have kind of taken me under their wings and helped me along. So big shout out to Brian Shenanigans, who's hellaciously funny, and a Ty Rivera, who's the best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
What's the worst gig you've ever had?
I was doing a showcase show after I had taken some classes at Flappers in Burbank, but I did it online. And so we had our show at the end of that class, and it was not good. There's no way to feed back from anyone, and I was fumbling my words, and I hadn't prepared like I should have, which I have never not done since then. I've always practiced ever after that gig. I walked in thinking, I got this, no problem. Yeah, gods of hubris heard me, and they impaled me upon their sheaths of humility.
How do you deal with stage fright?
I learned a technique from a big name Broadway actor when I did my first professional show. I'd been on stage before and never really had stage fright, but this was my first professional gig. And I was going to go throw up because I was that scared, had such huge imposter syndrome. And they told me, Erika, complete abject fear and excitement bring about the same physiological response in your body. So it's just up to you to be able to redirect your thinking. So you take that fear and you turn it into excitement. And then you use that excitement to help feed your adrenaline. So when you walk out on stage, you have that inner, I don't know what to call it, spark, that inner energy that can affect the audience because they can just feel it. And so that's how I learned how to deal with it. It's what I used when I walked up there the first night I ever did stand up. Fake it till you make it. Walked up there, big, ballsy, told my little stories, bombed, walked off, back straight. It's the best thing I've probably learned was how to redirect the abject terror and turn it into unbelievable excitement that I get to go out there and I get to perform.
What was the most unexpected response you've ever gotten to one of your jokes?
Hands down, it has to be the first time I got a fellow comedian to laugh hysterically at one of my jokes. The second one is I was in the U.S. comedy competition this year, and I had made it to the finals, which surprised the shit out of me. But somehow the gods had smiled and said, oh, they probably weren't listening, so you've made it to the finals. So I was in the finals, and a friend of mine had given me the line about, and, we don't talk about Pruno. And I know you're not supposed to use new material when it's a high stakes thing, but it was the only appropriate tag that I had for one of my favorite jokes when you didn't have the chance of having a drunk person yell out, it's Bruno. So I used it. And the response was amazing from my fellow comedians that I was competing against. And they were like, oh my God, that was hysterical. And I was just like, thanks, Colin, for giving me that because it saved my behind on this. So, anytime that you get a response from a fellow comedian that is, above your talent, your ability, someone that has been doing this for years, is huge to me. And it's always amazing that I can make somebody laugh. So yeah, it was amazing. No, I didn't win the U.S. comedy competition. They were just so wrong on that one. But I did come in third. So thanks, Colin, for the tag.
How do you prepare for a show?
I go into denial, and then I find 5 million other things to do, like clean my house, which, when I have a show coming up, because my house is clean, because I am a failure at the domestic arts usually. And then all of a sudden, sheer panic sets in. Oh my God, you have like 3 days before the show. And that's when I throw myself into it, and I pretty much become a hermit. And I will record myself, listen to it, record it again, and then I will replay it over and over and over again so that I can get at least the words down the way I want them. I use, Rob gave us a really helpful spreadsheet where it helps you edit down the amount of words that you use, and you have to start thinking about creative ways to get the joke out there with its same intention and meaning, but done in a much more edited and concise way so that it's punchier. That sheet has helped me tremendously, but it's mostly just repeating it over and over and over again so that the jokes are polished, and it's like muscle memory. They just come out without thought, so that you don't have to think about it. You can just be in the moment, and your material so well that if you have a heckler or something hysterical happens and you are just required because of it to make a comment or do audience interaction, that you can then quickly go right back into what you're doing, and you don't have to sit there and be a deer in the headlights. So it's repetition, repetition, repetition. It's a lot of recording and going, oh my God, why am I doing this? This sucks. You suck. Your jokes suck. You're just a big sucky suck. And why are you even doing this? And then just powering through that and starting to trust yourself that, muscle memory and, everyone who does stand up has their own style, and every style isn't going to be received by everyone else in a great way. Just like your style will, kill with another bunch of people. So you no longer give a fuck what they think. You're going to go out there, you're going to do it, and you know it so well that at least it's polished and entertaining. One hopes.
What's the best advice you've ever been given about stand-up comedy?
To just get up there and do it. And do it as often as possible, anywhere that's possible. Just do it so that you can see the reaction from different jokes. Plain and simple. I do it to cashiers. I do it to servers. Poor things. I do it to my cat. My cat needs therapy now. My cat just looks at me and goes, bitch, you don't pay me in food well enough for this. It's just to get up there and do it as often as possible.
What's the worst advice you've ever been given about stand-up comedy?
You'll never make it. Girls aren't funny. Girl comedians suck. Girls shouldn't be doing stand-up. Don't do it. Why do you want to put yourself out there? Screw you all. I'm funny, and I will get up there and find my niche.
What would you say is the biggest misconception about stand-up comedy?
That it's easy. That you don't need to take the time to write anything. You can just get up there and wing it. That all you have to do is audience participation. That there is nothing to it. That you can just get up there and tell a story. That's not the truth. I mean, overnight successes have been doing this for 10 years. There is an art to it. There are nuances that you just don't know about. The more I'm learning about it, the more I realize I am way, way like a fish out of water. I mean, there is so much stuff that I have to learn, and I have to keep telling myself, you've only been doing this for 8 months. And so what you've done is pretty darn good. But there is an art to comedy. There is an art to being able to stand up in front of an audience and get them to laugh. There is an art to like I try and not do a lot of blue material because my ultimate goal is to work on cruise ships and do corporate because I like to get paid. But that all you have to do is sit there and talk about genitalia and what things you can do and how you feel about women. That's just not the way it is. There is an art, and you have to learn it, and you have to watch those that came before you, because you can learn so much from their delivery and how they word things. And you have to learn the history. It's like when I used to play piano and I kept begging my piano teacher, I'm like, come on, let me play something else. Let me, jam. Let me play some jazz. Let me play some other thing than classical. And she kept telling me, Erika, you have to learn your scales. You have to learn your theory. You have to learn the basics before you can jam. And that's how I feel about comedy. So that's the biggest misconception, is that it's just, you can just get up there and tell a joke or two.
What do you believe is the key to success in stand-up comedy?
Perseverance, resilience, screw you, I don't give a shit what you say. I'm funny when you meet your detractors. And writing, and not stealing other people's jokes. Just don't do it, because it'll come out as fake if it comes out. Well, at least if, you can tell if it's something that somebody has lived through or written themselves. There's an authenticity that goes with it. So it's writing your own material, learning how to construct a joke, and believing in yourself. Because like in any kind of entertainment field, you're gonna be told you suck. And you have to make your decision that if you're going to believe them or if you're going to go, watch this, hold my beer. And I've been told you suck plenty of times. And I just tell them to listen and watch me go, and they can go screw themselves, because I'm doing pretty darn good for where I'm at in this profession. And just like everything, it's practice. I can't say it enough. And you have to decide, is this a passion? Is this something that you're willing to go through crap like never before? I had to make that decision when they turned the power off and my gas got shut off, because I wasn't bringing in any money. And, the world doesn't take kindly when you don't bring in the money. So you have to make a decision, and then you have to find a way to make it work. And so I'd hit rock bottom. I'd lost $450K in in really bad crypto investments, trusted the wrong people, was living off grid in a house. Thank God I bought, straight out. And I had to sit there, and I got to a point where I was thinking about killing myself, because I had never been in such a position and so low. And I totally understood why people turned to drugs and had drug problems. And so instead of doing that, I said, screw it. Let's find the funny. And it's not my best jokes, but they got me through. And I think that's what's needed to make it in comedy, is the belief that you are good, that there will be a payoff in the end. It's up to you to decide what success is to you. It might not be sitting there, selling out arenas like Joe Coy or Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock. But it could be something as big as, I made my first paycheck hosting. or I have auditions for cruise ships, or wow, I got my first gig with a corporate. It's a small one, but at least I can pay some of my bills with it. So it's not giving up on yourself and deciding that this is something that you are dedicated to and that you will see through to whatever end it comes to, and being okay with it not being the bright lights and, sitcom. I mean, we all strive for that, but it's, you just have to find the small, have your big picture, but then celebrate the milestones that you're making on your way to your ultimate goal. And that requires perseverance, dedication, and believing in yourself.
What do you think is the biggest obstacle that stand-up comedians face?
Biggest obstacle that a stand-up comedian face, oh, I just grammatically killed that, didn't I? Is, and I can only speak for myself and some people that I know, is themselves. Getting in your own way. Not believing in yourself. Not thinking, oh, I can do this. I am funny. They just need to find out how funny I am, and putting yourself out there. One of the funniest comedians I know runs a small comedy group that performs where I live, and they perform throughout the area. This dude is funny. And I go, come on, dude, come with me to Vegas and let's do an open mic or something. And oh no, I'm not good enough yet. I'm like, come on, dude, you've been doing this for how long? And I've gone and done it. So you do, and no. So the self-limiting, and I don't like to, I'm not judging them. But I think that's one of the biggest obstacles is not just putting yourself out there, sink or swim. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? You bomb? Oh, there's something I do on a daily basis. But unless, at least for me, unless I put aside my self-doubt, my self-loathing, my negativity, and just go, screw it. What's the worst thing that can happen? Did anyone die? Nope. Okay. Well, then it's been a good day. And just putting yourself out there. Was I ready to do the U.S. comedy competition? Fuck no. But what did it do? It forced me to, I have a timeline now, and I prefer not to make an ass out of myself. So I had to push myself. And I pushed myself, and the outcome, while I would have been a great first place, fabulously accepting the large monetary prize and the representation and the tours. I'm kidding. I don't know what the winners got because I wasn't one of them. But, yes, I would have loved that. But what did I do? I proved to myself. And I proved to a lot of my friends who actually, holy bejeebus, spent the money to watch me compete, that I have a place in the comedy world, that a miserable middle-aged Gen X chick who is broke and just starting from the ground up on her own, not married, he died, I didn't kill him, that's what I told the cops, has a place in the world of comedy. And while we shouldn't get validated by things on the outside, I'm not going to lie, it was validating to hear my friends who would tell me straight up, Evan, if I really sucked, Colin, Evan, Ty, have them not tell me that I sucked, to tell me, wow, you were surprisingly really good. And I'm like, well, of course I'm really good. But knowing that the validation was yes, and I wouldn't have been able to, if I had listened to myself and listened to my inner demons, I would never put myself in that position. I would have found 5 million different reasons why I shouldn't, and there are 5 million different reasons why I should never have entered that competition. But, why not push yourself? You can only, at least in my view, you can only get better if you keep setting goals that other people think that you cannot attain. And if you fail, it's not a failure. It's just like in science. You have a hypothesis, you try it out on an experiment. The hypothesis was proved invalid, whatever you want to call it. You didn't fail. You just found one way that doesn't work. So you go back to the drawing board, you come up with another hypothesis, and you do it again. And so I think it's getting out of your own way and not letting imposter syndrome defeat you. Another big obstacle is money. And you have to decide, is this worth it? And for a lot of people, it'll never be worth it. They have families to feed. They have, mortgages. They have all sorts of things that they are responsible for. And to chuck it all just to go and pursue comedy is not a reality in their life at the moment. So they do it as a hobby and a dream, and more power to them for finding their outlet. But I think the biggest obstacle is yourself, and a lot of times money. So I'm accepting donations.
What do you think sets stand-up comedy apart from other forms of comedy?
That's a hard one, because every form of comedy is awesome for all sorts of different reasons that are strictly because of the form that it's presented in. And sketch comedy, like Saturday Night Live versus stand-up versus one acts or short films, they all have their pluses and minuses. Stand-up comedy for me differentiates because it's just you. It's you, your message, a mic, a spotlight, and an audience. And it is solely up to you to figure out how to get the response that you want from the audience. You're not relying on anyone else. There is no one else to blame, even though we like to say the audience sucked and that's why I sucked. That's not the case. Deep down, it's because you didn't put in your best performance, or you weren't there, you weren't present, whatever the reason, and ultimately the buck stops with you. And it is up to you to rework or use the same thing and keep going through till you find your niche. I don't know. But I think that's what sets comedy, stand-up comedy, apart from the other forms of comedy, is because ultimately it's just you.
What are the benefits of stand-up comedy?
Benefits of stand-up comedy. Well, it's humbling. Humbling in so many different ways. It's humbling when your power gets turned off. It's humbling when you have to go to the food pantry to get food because you didn't book enough gigs. It's humbling when you get up on stage and you do not kill. It's humbling when you do kill and you have a group of people that think you were hysterical. It's humbling because you might think that what you write, everything you write, is brilliant. It isn't received that way. And that actually is, being humbled, I think, is a benefit because it makes you or it breaks you. And it is up to you to decide, is this what I really want to do? And do I have enough fortitude to do it? Another thing about benefits of stand-up comedy is learning how to read an audience. Most of us learn that when we're servers. We can read a table. And then we can take that and use it to learn how to read a room. What kind of jokes are going to work tonight? What kind of things are they interested in? Is this a blue set or is this a clean set? When it hasn't been determined by the club owner. It's getting a a sense of empowerment that you can command an audience. It gives you the confidence to get up and interact with people that are not typically your social group. You can hold your own. The power of making somebody laugh removes all sorts of barriers. And so to learn how to get your message across in a funny manner can open up doors to all sorts of things.
What's your process for writing jokes?
Process for writing jokes. Well, I mean, I started off with the comedy Bible and workbook and took some classes about the techniques. And then I found that a lot of my jokes are humorous, but they're not drop dead funny. And so I started writing and writing and writing and writing. And writing essays, basically, is what it turned into, or journals about what was going on during the day, what happened, how I feel about it, and then taking from that the humorous parts and saying them to people that I trust with their opinions of a joke, and having them help me rework it into a premise and a punchline and a tag, because sometimes that's really hard for me. There's people that I know that can just write the most fabulously funny jokes that, it's like it's effortless to them. And like anything, it just takes practice. And I'm new to this. And so I'm learning what my process is. But the one thing I took from Jerry Seinfeld is writing every day. So I write and I don't edit. And I write Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, I go back through what I wrote, and I wish I was organized. Oh my God, my life would be so much easier if I was organized, but I am so not organized. So I have a journal and then I have to go back. It reminds me of the back in the day when I worked as a nurse and we had to do everything by handwriting and these narrative notes that you'd have to go and read and just, pick out information from. But so I go back and on Thursdays, I pull out the paragraphs and I write by hand. I can't, for some reason, do it on the computer. I can't write well. It just doesn't flow for me when I try and do it on my computer. I have to write by hand. So I pull out those paragraphs and then I rewrite them on Thursdays. And then I highlight what could be turned into a joke from them or what I find funny. And then on Fridays, I take that and I try and turn it into a joke. And I use the spreadsheet that Rob gave me, that Rob gives to many people because he's very generous about this stuff. And I try and edit everything down to a certain amount of words per premise, and then for the punchline, and then the tag. And most of the time it doesn't work. And so I have pages upon pages of pages, and maybe if I'm lucky, I get one joke out of it. But at least I've gotten one joke that I can work on, which is a win in my book.
What's the most important thing for a stand-up comedian to remember?
Most important thing for a stand-up comedian to remember? While I would love it to be about me, it's never about me. It's about the audience. It's kind of like how I felt when I was a nurse. And I remember in nursing school, I would joke around with the patients that I was assigned. And people that I worked, that were my classmates, would sit there and go and complain. They're like, she's joking around with them, blah, 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 blah. And all I could think of to myself was, well, yeah, because they're already living their shittiest life. So why not find something funny? I mean, it can only improve things, can't hurt things. I mean, of course, yeah, be careful what you joked around about, but I just never understood that. And so excuse me, when my dad came to my nursing graduation, and unexpectedly, I was called up onto stage to win the Nightingale Award for Best Bedside Manner in class. My dad said that he could see me mentally going, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, next. Because it was validating. It was, you know what? Funny helps everyone. You know, there are studies that show that funny and making people laugh has such a positive physiological effect on a human body. It's amazing. And that's how I feel about audiences. You know, somebody could have had a really shitty day, just downright crappy. And so you forget what your crappy day was like, and you go out there and you perform for them. Because if you can make that person forget their shit for a while and walk out of there in a better mood, what better thing is there in life?
What do you think are the best techniques for dealing with hecklers?
Not feeding the beast. I ignore them. Unless they become really just obnoxious, typically the people around them will keep them quiet. If they do become obnoxious, I took a page out of a couple different comics books where you just sit there and talk to them and, oh, well, why are you feeling like that today? You okay? You want to talk? Is there something that we can discuss to help you feel better? Usually shuts them up. Or if they're really funny and they just set themselves up, sometimes it would be remiss not to knock that gift out of the park and use it to not make them feel bad, because I never want anyone to feel bad, but to use the gift that they've given you to create something funny and then move on.
What do you think are the biggest mistakes that stand-up comedians make?
Thinking that it's about them, thinking that they don't have to practice, thinking that they don't have to write, thinking that they can just get up there and wing it, thinking that you can just get away with ranting and raving about body parts, bodily functions, you know, who you're doing, who you're screwing, how bad women are. You know, the low-hanging fruit is what they're, you know, a lot of people call it. It has no substance. It has no longevity. It has nothing to do with comedy. It all has to do with you. And in my personal opinion, that is horrendous, because it's about entertaining the audience, not offending them. Or, you know, well, I say that, but, you know, not everyone can find something offensive about anything that anyone says. But it's about making it about you and not preparing, thinking you can just get out there and do it.
What is the best way to learn stand-up comedy?
Doing it. Just doing it. Get up there, do it. And bomb until you bomb a little less, and then bomb a little more less. And then you stop bombing all the time. You know, you're always going to have nights where you bomb, but they're not as bad of a bomb. And learning how to set up a joke properly, learning the different techniques, different types of jokes, learning what a callback is, learning how you can take something that might suck at the present, in its present form, but knowing the theory and the technique behind writing a joke and being able to save it. And open mics. Even though it's the same group of people listening to the same, there's nothing that can replace the stage time and hearing it and recording it and watching it back and honing your mic skills.
What do you think is the best way to improve as a stand-up comedian?
Have someone else write your jokes. I'm just kidding. Write. Practice. Try it out. Open mic. Dissect it, rip it apart, put it back together again, and then doing it all over again.
What has stand-up comedy taught you about yourself?
That I'm a masochist. That I truly am just one of those people that enjoys the pain and suffering. It's proven what has it taught me about myself? That I have a voice and I have an opinion, and I can turn that into something funny, and to have a little more self-confidence in my ability to be just me, that I don't have to put on an act. I don't have to become a character. I don't have to pretend that I am enough.
What motivates you to keep performing stand-up comedy?
I like to be broke. What keeps motivating me to keep going on? The laughter. I'm addicted to it. I'm addicted to making people laugh. Something I never thought that I would be able to do. Something that I still struggle with. But oh God, when you do land a joke and it lands hard and great response, you come back. You have to. It's addicting. It's my drug.
What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about doing stand-up comedy?
Just do it. Get up there. Try it out. Do it. What do you have to lose? Everyone who's in comedy had to start, and we all probably, for the most part, just bombed gloriously, bombed like no other bomb, and being okay with it, and then coming back and doing it again and again and again and again and again and again until you get to the point where some of your jokes start landing. And writing. Write about everything. Write about what you know. Write about your life. Some of the most therapeutic things that now are in my act that kill are things that were really painful and that I went through and that I'm still going through. And, there's funny in misery, as much as that sucks to say. There's nothing more funny than real life. So write about your real life. Tell the stories. And then once you tell those stories and you keep telling the stories, then you can start whittling the stories down, and they will organically turn into shorter, funnier pieces. But just get up and do it.
Is there anything you'd like to add that we did not cover?
Don't give up on yourself. You are enough. Your powers are your words. And take that power and make somebody else laugh. Everyone's going through crap. So address it. Make it funny. Help them see the other side. I'd also like to say, if there are any cruise ships that are looking to hire a comedian, host, feature, whatever, I'm available. That's right. You too can have me on board. Or any corporate gigs. I work clean. But I'd like to say thank you to the people, I'm going to start crying, that believe in me, that actually think that I'm funny, that are supportive. So those would be my buddies on this app, believe it or not, called Clubhouse, that laugh at my jokes, that give me a hard time, that are there when life gets pretty bad. I wish I could name them all, but Colin and Evan, wow, and Kevin and Thorin and Sue and Hillary and just and Johanna and Bob and Shaq and George Soroy, who did me the biggest honor of giving me a part in the audio drama of his book, which is a well-received young adults science fiction book that he gave me. He put his trust that I could not only bring funny, but I could bring serious and heartfelt emotion to an audio script when I auditioned for my safety wheelhouse, which is the evil person, and now I'm not playing that, and I'm having to, be one of the heroines of the story. To Matthew Ray, who started it all as my unofficial boyfriend who has turned into one of my dearest, best friends, to an ex-boyfriend that I can't stand anymore, but he was funny. And, so having him help me out, so I guess it wasn't all bad, to the girl that was like my sister, Kat, for betraying me and leaving me in the worst point of my life. Even that brought some hysterical things out that I can use in my comedy act, to Brian and Ty for giving me, support. One of the biggest compliments I got was from Ty. His name's Ty Rivera, and he goes by the best LGBTQ comedian in the world. One night he was hosting an open mic, and I was like, I really need some help. And he's like, I can tell that you're serious. I can tell that you write. And Brian, who said, yeah, no, you keep showing back up, and you can tell that you're intelligent and that you're that you care about this. So thank you to them, because that meant the world to me. Sorry, Ty, I kind of hit some rough patches there, so I couldn't get you to coach me, which I still would love, but I'm low on funds. To my mom and dad, the funniest freaking Germans that I've ever known. To my cousin Paul, who I can't stand because we had sibling rivalry our entire life, but man, he's just inherently funny. To life, for giving me a road that was not normal. To my daughter, who unfortunately is no longer part of my life. God, Alexis, you are the funniest person I know. While I'm I just screwed that joke up. While I'm acerbically witty, you are just caustically witty and funny, and you've always been funny ever since you learned how to talk. To my late husband, who laughed at my jokes and begged me not to quit performing, because it's the only time my mom and him said that I ever had the light that came from inside. To Willie, for giving me a couple of my good jokes. I'll leave the ones out because I don't want to embarrass you. There's so many people. To Rob, for listening to me when I first started. He was the first person that I talked to and went through my jokes, and he's the first person that said, you have something to say, and you are funny, and you come across as a nice person, which isn't always the case, or I've not always been told that. To everyone that has entered my life, good or bad, there's been something about you that has moved me forward. To my neighbors who feed me when I'm broke and have no money. To the Mojave Electric Company for turning off my power for 3 weeks. I got a lot of funny out of that one. But all in all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for letting me get my message out and thinking that I'm kind of funny. But I'm still looking for work. Norwegian, Carnival, Princess, you name it, I can do it. Thanks, Rob.
I've been your host, Rob Chaffee. Don't forget to laugh today. It's good for you. Comedy Reset Spotlight is a podcast that brings you today's freshest and funniest comedy creators. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to hear more.